right. Hello again, adventurers, and welcome to another exciting episode of D&D Deep Dive, the show where we dive deep into classes, subclasses, and other features of 5th edition D&D to help you get the most out of your choices. So, today, we're going to be continuing with the backgrounds. I'm sorry that it's been like a week since my last video. Very long story short, mental health not great, and I'm launching a brand new campaign still. So I've been tying up loose ends there, and then just having a hard time recording much of anything. Hopefully it's going to change. I'm going to try and actually get 2 episodes filmed back to back and then just release them a few days-ish apart. Don't know if that's going to work, but hopefully it's looking like if I could keep to what I've been doing, after this episode, there should only be 2 more. So I might be able to get all of those filmed right now and just release them slow enough for people to watch them. So we'll see. I don't know. A lot of it depends on so many things outside of my control. But what I can control is getting started on this. So let's dive directly back into the backgrounds with the folk hero. Now, again, the point of the backgrounds episodes is the idea that people look at backgrounds is kind of just a way to get a couple extra skill proficiencies and maybe a little bit of equipment if you're taking the starting equipment instead of money when you build your character, and then they just throw them away and then never reference it again. I think, I know, because I've done it, backgrounds can have an active effect on how you play your character. They can give you different options and different solutions to situations when you're playing. And so this whole series is about how can you use your background when you're actively playing, as opposed to just having it be a passive thing that, oh yeah, I used to be a folk hero. So yeah, let's dive into folk hero. Folk hero is such a broad description, and it's one of the reasons I like this particular background. One of my characters is a folk hero. My hunter ranger is a folk hero. And originally, I made the character. He uses 2 whips. He's a dual-wielding ranger that uses 2 whips. Because no one uses whips. I'm like, why would I try this? It'll be fun. So he's a dual whip-wielding ranger. And I based him on the Belmonts from Castlevania. So he uses a whip. I have all these sub-weapons. Like he has daggers. He has darts for throwing daggers. He has hand axes that he throws. He even has a holy symbol. He can't do anything with it, unlike in Castlevania, where it's basically either a boomerang or a super powerful, like, half-screen kill thing. But yeah, so I built him to try and create a Belmont in the D&D, and I actually played him in the Adventures League. And what very quickly happened was I used the folk hero background because it encompasses so much. I'm like, oh, he was known for killing vampires, which is kind of what the Belmonts are known for in Castlevania. And what eventually happened was he changed from, like, broody, like, I will kill all the vampires. And he turned into an influencer, and I mean that in the worst way possible. One of the first game, or I think is maybe the second or the third game I played with him. The game starts out. It was in Ravenloft. It was in Barovia, and you're in this small town where the Burgermeister, who's the mayor of effectively, calls you and the rest of your party in. And because it's a Adventures League, it's designed for just random people to get together and to do stuff. So they'll always have a hook to get you into it. And so the hook for this one, which I think I had run this, or I was going to run it, so I actually already knew the hook. But the hook was the Burgermeister would uh, basically put out a call for adventurers, and he'd come in and say, "Hey, listen, Strahd's going to come, or one of Strahd's men is going to come to collect the taxes from this village, and I don't have the money. Things have been bad, blah, blah, blah." He comes up with all these excuses. He spent the money. But he goes, if I don't have the money for the taxes, Strahd is going to send his people, and they're going to kill a bunch of people as punishment. So I need you guys to come up with a way to make us money. And the way that this was supposed to work was he would go, I've got an idea. There's this crypt. No one could go in there because there's lots of bad, undeads and stuff there. But there's lots of treasure in there. So if you guys will go to the crypt and get enough treasure for us to pay our taxes, our tribute, I will let you keep some of the extra stuff. So your payment will be in there, and all you got to do is bring it back. That's how it was supposed to go. Adrian Belmont, which is what I named my character, in the middle of this really great DM who's doing like full on like voices and everything. He's like, I need you all to go to this thing for us to give the tributes and the things like that. I go, okay. I just in the middle of him speaking, just out of nowhere, sitting around a round table in effectively the basement of a hotel, which is where this convention was. I just go, okay. I get what you're saying. And the whole table just looks at me because it's kind of rude to interrupt the DM, especially because this sounded like something I was saying out of character, but it wasn't. Adrian was actually going, all right, I get what you're saying. Yes, I am Adrian Belmont. And the whole table goes, what the hell? And I go on and go, so I get what you're saying. And yes, I will help out. How does this sound? We'll throw a big, festival, like a convention kind of thing. I'll do autographs as signings. I will even waive my writer fee and everything. And you guys can, bring in some, local food wagons and some local artisans in that. They'll sell their stuff. We can get a lot of tourists, tourist money in here, and it'll be perfectly fine. And I'll even, I'll charge for the autographs, and you guys can take the whole thing just out of the kindness of my heart. And the whole table just looked at me like I was bonkers. And the TM playing the Burgermeister goes, or there is crypt with money in it. You go get money, bring back. And that was when I kind of solidified who Adrian was. And it's the most fun character I've ever played in D&D. He is such a great character. He has an agent. He has a publicist. All of them are animals that he summons through ranger stuff, and he has a figuring of Wonder's power. It's fun. But that's the kind of thing, that's the thing I like about the folk hero, to get back to what I was just saying. The folk hero is really this kind of catch-all to, hey, you are effectively famous for doing something to help the regular folk. And they give you actually, they actually mention 10 defining events. These are the thing that made you a hero. But there's so many other things you can do with this. So something like a lord rescinded an unpopular decree after I led a symbolic act of protest against it. Or I stole from a corrupt merchant to help the poor, very Robin Hood-esque. There's so many different ways you can use the folk hero, and it will really, really change how you play your character. Like I said, my original character idea was I was going to be this like super like emo dark edgelord kind of, yes, the vampires killed my parents, but I killed them back using my floppy piece of leather. And it just there was a joke in one of my first games, and I just kind of went with it, and it fits so well for. I even lowballed charisma, um, to ensure that anytime he thought he was famous, and I don't remember where in the process, because you can actually rebuild your characters all the way up to level. Until you hit level 5, you can rebuild your characters in Adventure League. I can't remember if I actually rebuilt him or if this was part of my idea when I first started playing him. But I lowballed Charisma specifically, so even if he tried to convince people he was famous, they wouldn't believe him. He couldn't persuade, he couldn't lie, nothing. And it was super, super fun. And that's what the folk hero can be. So the skill proficiencies are kind of weird for this, and they don't really seem to fit super well with the folk hero theme, because the skill proficiencies are animal handling and survival, or at least they don't seem to fit. When you look at the tool proficiencies, you get a type of artisan's tools, which is another thing that's, I don't know. But then you also get proficiencies in land vehicles, which are things like horses. So it may be that their detention behind this was to kind of be the white hat rider from old westerns, where you come in on your whole horse, and your horse is your only companion. You come in, you save the town, and you kind of build a reputation going around. Maybe that's where the animal handling came from. I don't really understand this survival. It seems a little out of place, and I would much rather, as a folk hero, have persuasion, simply because as a folk hero, you're inspiring to other people, so it would make more sense. But that's what they've gotten, and you can use survival a lot, and you can use animal handling a lot, depending on how you build it. So yeah, you definitely want a defining event. Sometimes the little extra things they mention is like, oh, like for the charlatan, the favorite schemes, yeah, it's kind of useful to have that. But for the folk hero, the defining event is going to define how your character interacts with the things, and it's going to give you new options when you're dealing with situations. If you are in a situation where you have to protect a small town or even a big town from something like a monster attack, corrupt noble, something like that. If your defining feature is you stole from a corrupt merchant to help the poor, you're going to be able to use that to go, hey, the reason I'm so well known is I steal from the rich to give to the poor. So all we need to do is paint this guy as a rich guy, and they're going to follow me simply because I've already taken one down. However, if your defining moment is I broke into a tyrant's castle and stole weapons to arm the people, you're going to be viewed much more as like a military commander, where you can actually give orders to people and say, no, this is how we're going to do this. We're going to do this, and you'll actually be able to use people as troops, as opposed to someone that steals from the rich and gives to the poor. You're gonna have a much easier time maybe changing public opinion, getting passive resistance to things like that. And that's all going to be based on your defining event. So definitely pick one, and you don't have to limit yourself to the 10 they list here. And even the 10 they list here, there's a lot of leeway. Like the first one is I stood up to tyrant's agents. That could mean anything from you saw guards harassing someone, you came up and you told them off. Or it could be same situation. You came up and fought them off. You came up and killed the guards. Standing up to a tyrant's agents, it could be a tax collector came around and tried to take extra taxes to line his pockets, and you paid the taxes yourself to prevent this agent from harassing this person. And that's how you stood up. You said, no, I'm not going to let you harass this person. You harass me. So there's, even within those, you have a lot of leeway. The background feature, which is the thing that generally is going to have the most mechanical impact, is called rustic hospitality, which is effectively, um, since you were a commoner and you became more than that, you became a famous commoner. Commoners in general are going to go to bat for you. They will do things like give you free lodging. They will hide you from the authorities. Um, they will give you a place to like recover. They may even help you in recovering. The only thing it says in here is they won't risk their lives for you, because that could become a little too much power. But that specific thing can be massive, especially if you're running a city-based campaign. A lot of people, when they think of a D&D campaign, they think of, you go to different places and there's lots to travel. However, there are some really, really fun, entirely city-based campaigns where you never leave a large city, like Baldur's Gate, Waterdeep, and Neverwinter to a point. Though Neverwinter is enough of a wilderness city that most Neverwinter campaigns venture out as well to like Mount Hotenau, and after the Sundering, or after Hotenau exploded, they'll venture into the Underdark as well, because I think there's an Underdark rift or something right near there. So, but Baldur's Gate and Waterdeep in the Forgotten Realms are really, really famous places where the entire campaign from 1 to 20, you never leave that city beyond like Waterdeep, maybe going into Undermountain, which is the dungeon directly beneath it. But in a city-based campaign, this rustic hospitality can be a massive thing, because city-based campaigns, the enemy is very rarely going to be the evil lich that you only see during the last fight. City-based campaigns, the enemies are always going to be there. The enemies could be whoever is in power. It could be a rogue organization that is just taking power where it shouldn't have it. Things like the Flaming Fist is an organization that protects the I think it's the middle city and the outer city, if I'm remembering correctly, in Baldur's Gate. They are kind of private security that, while the inner city is protected by the actual guards of Baldur's Gate, everything outside, because Baldur's Gate is massive, is protected by the Flaming Fist, which is private and is privately owned. And it could be that the Flaming Fist are the bad guys, but because they are recognized as, security and stuff like that, the bad guys are also the ones that are kind of in power, but not really. And so in a city-based campaign, you are constantly surrounded by bad guys, and you can't always just go out and kill all the bad guys, because that would create a bad situation if you're constantly murdering and they outnumber you, 100, 200 to the 300 to 1. They'll just hunt you down. So rustic hospitality can be really, really useful when you're doing a city-based campaign, or if you're just in a city for part of your campaign. But even when you're not, anytime you come up to a random farm or something like that, there's always a chance that the story of your heroics will have reached them. And I think that is the most mechanically powerful aspect of the folk hero, is living and banking on your story, especially if you don't have issues with it being embellished. You can use this as a story to get you things you normally wouldn't. So you can go, well, I think you've heard this is a story about how I killed 100 men with just this pinky finger. You don't want to pick a fight with me, and you'll be able to intimidate people, or maybe persuade people in ways you couldn't without that story. So the really, really effective way of using the folk hero in everyday gameplay is spread your story and live your story. Whatever makes you a hero, lean on that over and over and over again. By the time you get to second tier, and then third and fourth, you will have the ability to make decisions that you couldn't without your heroic persona behind you. So, yeah, love folk here. Super, super cool. Next one up is Guild Artisan. Guild Artisan is actually really, really interesting in the idea that um, the important part of Guild Artisan, a lot of people focus on Guild Artisan for the artisan thing. Like, well, I want to be a blacksmith, so I will choose the Guild Artisan background because I wanted to be a blacksmith and then became an adventurer, which is perfectly fine. But the defining part of the Guild Artisan is the guild aspect of it, and it fits into everything here. It specifically mentions you're a member of an artisan's guild. Um, and that's what this background is. You are parts of an organization that spreads beyond your shop. A lot of these guilds have connections beyond cities. In a lot of fantasy worlds, you have what are called city states, where this major city controls the areas around it. But for the most part, each major city is its own thing. It's controlled on its own. It has its own ruler. It makes its own laws. They don't really have countries as often, though you do see them. Like and Thay are both countries with multiple cities in Forgotten Realms, but like Waterdeep and Baldur's Gates are city states. So with a guild, your guild may actually surpass the city state or the country that you work in, or it may just simply be that it's not your specific guild, but you have a sister guild in another city state. So the whole of the thing about being a guild artisan is the fact that you have pre-made relationships basically anywhere you go where your particular skill is used. And your kind of defining choice for the artisan is it lets you choose from 20 different businesses. So things like glassblowers, cooks, armorers, alchemists, things like that. So you do choose, like, I want to be a blacksmith, so I will be a guild artisan. But you're not just choosing your artisan, you're not just choosing your profession, you are choosing the people that you relate to. And if you want to use this in game, that's what you need to focus on. A lot of people will think, well, that means I can pull a will from Pirates of the Caribbean. And goes, I built these things. They use this particular hedge, and I can break you out. And yeah, technically you can, but that's not what the background's designed to do. The background is designed to be, oh, I know the guild here, and if I show them my my membership card or whatever, I can get us. Not only can I get us better deals on goods, which is always nice, but I can get us information about things I normally couldn't. Money is really important in any society. So being associated with a particular group of individuals that basically corner a specific market and make, because of that cornering of the market, have control over the economy of, or at least part of the economy, can be a really big thing. Money creates influence. So by talking with other guild artisans, you may find nobles that are more. They may be able to give you recommendations of nobles that are more willing to maybe bend their own rules for the right person. They may have connections where somebody owes the guild a favor for something, and you can get anything from supplies, work, even to the things like to troops or betrayals, to the things like that. Guild Artisan is a relationship based background, and that's what you want to really hold on to, is this idea of, I have relationships which make other relationships for me. Any significantly large city I already have friends there, and those friends are going to give me benefits that no one else has. And that's really useful. The proficiencies you get with the guild artisan fit into that relationship building immensely. The skill proficiencies are insight and persuasion. And insight is one of the ones that I think, and I think I've mentioned this before, insight is massively underused. Because when most people see insight, all they see is lie detector, which insight is so much more than lie detector. Insight can be used to see what persuasion techniques you're using are most effective on this person. I was in sales. One of the reasons I was as good a salesman as I was is I could tell what people were interested in when I was talking. I sold printers, computers, tech. I even did furniture sales for a little bit. But what I would do is I would just start talking about the product, and I would watch the customer as I talked about the product. And whenever I said something that interested them, I knew that was the thing that was important to them, and I could steer them towards the products where that particular feature was the best or the best fit for them. I know a lot of people think salesmen are these sleazy, lying. They're not. They've actually done studies. They've showed salesmen on the floor as a salesman are technically the most honest people you're going to deal with. The most dishonest people, which is still a minority of the group, I think it's like 20 or 30%, is actually managers, because they when they lie, they have enough power to cover up their lies. Whereas salesmen, if they lie, they have to deal with the repercussions. So salesmen, remarkably trustworthy. Doesn't mean all of them are, but this idea that salesmen are sleazy and lie about everything is just patently wrong. So anyway, yeah, insight. Use insight in a situation where you're talking to someone, and you're trying to persuade them. Ask the DM, hey, can I use my insight to see? We've been talking for 5 minutes here. Can I use my insight to see which aspect of this conversation they seem to most interested in? No one ever asked that, and it is one of the most useful uses of insight in the real world. I personally, I can catch a liar in a lie a lot. I don't want to sound like arrogant or anything, but in order to be able to lie to me, you have to be phenomenally good. And I can count the number of people on one hand that have effectively lied to me since I was like 9 to 10ish, when I got really into the deception detection. I am a freak. Most people have a really, really hard time telling if someone is being truthful or lying. It's one of the reasons we have such a big issue with quote unquote fake news or whatever you want to call it. Nobody can tell when people are lying or telling the truth. However, most people can tell when a conversation is going well and when a conversation is going poorly. And someone trained in insight would be able to tell not only when it's going well or poorly, but what aspect of the conversation is going well, and be able to shift the conversation towards that particular topic. It's a very common skill for charismatic people to have, and that fits perfectly into this guild artisan idea. Because again, guild artisan is all about relationships. It's not about what you make; it's about who you know. And insight and persuasion both fit into that perfectly. The feature, which again fits right back into guild artisan, is guild membership. Which basically means fellow guild members will do things like give you lodging and food. They'll pay for your funeral. I love that they put that in there. It's like, yeah, they'll also pay for your funeral. In certain cities and towns, there might be a guild hall where you can meet like-minded people. And they may hire you to do a job. Like if you're a blacksmith and you go to a guild hall and find another blacksmith, they may hire you to go, hey, listen, I need this very specific kind of ore, but it's only found in this mine that is full of kobolds. So can you guys go out, get these kobolds, so I can send in a crew to actually mine this. So this is stuff like that. The other thing it mentions in here specifically, guilds often wield tremendous political power. If you're accused of a crime, your guild will support you. They'll bail you out of jail. They'll get you someone to defend you. They may even be able to get any charges or prison time or anything, punishments at all, dropped because they're massively influential. And it might further the plot along as well, because if they use their political power to get you out of trouble, they may ask something from your group in return for doing this. They specifically mention it might require the donation of money or magic items to the guild's coffer. They do mention you have 5 gold per month dues you have to pay to the guild, which if you don't pay them, you lose your standing. You actually lose all those features there because you're not a good standing member of the guild. So I like that. I like adding an additional aspect of, hey, there's a price literally with this. It comes with all this power, because it would be super, super useful to wield this power. And so putting that little limitation, and 5 gold pieces a month, like most campaigns of in-game time last less than a year. So you're talking over the entire campaign, you're talking 60 gold max to pay for the guild membership. So it's not an exorbitant amount. Even at low levels, you can afford that. So yeah, Guild Artisan, super, super cool. Love it. Now, there is a variant on the Guild Artisan, which is the Guild Merchant, where instead of being an artisan, instead of making something, you belong to a guild of merchants. You sell shit. And again, I was just a salesman. I cannot tell you how useful being a salesman was when I could actually go out and do things. Speaking with others as a salesman, I knew the language. I knew when they were pulling my leg. I also was able to get them to give me deals and other things like that, simply because I could sit there and I could talk and go, hey, yeah, no, I used to sell this, and can you believe this? And when they came out with this, the other thing is nice if you decide to be a guild merchant instead of an artisan. Certain professions are going to be limited to certain regions. Like if you're an ironsmith, like you work almost exclusively with iron, you're only going to be in places where you can get access to iron or any metal. If you're just a common blacksmith, you need to be somewhere that has a lot of that, and that's going to limit how many other blacksmiths can work in the same location, because there's a limited amount of a resource. Merchants go anywhere and they can sell anything. So while while like a blacksmith's guild may only exist in larger cities, a merchant's guild will have people in random places, because everybody needs something. So I actually even more enjoy, and part of it's because I was a salesman, but I actually like the guild merchant even more so than the guild artisan, just because your reach is even further. You get access to more varieties of the things, and again, guilds in general are still going to wield incredible power, and when that power can be utilized in a much wider area, it just increases the power, and therefore all the cool stuff you can do when you invoke it. So next up is the Hermits. Hermits is interesting. I like everything up to the background feature for the Hermit, because I think it's an interesting character. The entire idea of a hermit is but based on the idea that you have sequestered yourself away from the rest of society for a purpose. And they actually, your kind of defining feature of the hermit is called life of seclusion, where you actually pick why you sequestered yourself away from the rest of society. And I like that. I like the idea that you have a character that for whatever reason has decided to live on their own and just kind of work on improving themselves away from all of society, and then something inspires you to get back into society by becoming an adventurer. I really like that. The skill proficiencies with the hermit are medicine and religion, which are interesting because medicine is both of them are knowledge based, where you understand medicine is, I know this does this. But medicine can also be used to do things like figure out how someone got killed. So medicine can be kind of a passive, knowledge based thing, or medicine can be a very active thing where you get active information of it. Religion, on the other hand, is like history. You understand religion. And a lot of people think religion has to deal with deities. Religion can really just be any kind of dogma. And dogma comes in a lot of different forms. My favorite explanation of a non-theistic dogma is and I have a couple of favorite ones, but they really offend people when I call them dogmas. Because so I'm not going to list those, but I will say the kind of exercise as this industry as a whole, and the quote unquote health industry is a dogma that has no deity. It's not related to any sort of religion, but they do have their own beliefs, their own practices, and their own rituals and the things like that, depending on how deep you get into it. So just because it says religion doesn't mean that it has to do with deities. It could simply be an organizational group that has very specific principles. I like that idea. And the life assisted seclusion will greatly affect how you play your character. Like the first one is I was searching for spiritual enlightenment, which is what most people think of it as a hermit. But when you go to number 4, it is I retreated from society after a life-altering event. That can be you became a hermit as it could be a reaction to trauma. There could be PTSD kind of things, which again I will emphasize. I don't believe adding a mental illness or a mental disorder to your character is a good idea, because it belittles mental disorders in general. A mental disorder is not a character trait. It's something really, really serious, and it's constantly taken lightly in entertainment. So I would not recommend giving your character PTSD or something like that to inspire them from being a hermit. However, just because trauma caused them to make a decision does not mean they have to have some sort of mental illness or something. It could be that a situation occurred that just made them change their mind. Like maybe the death in the family made them realize that they were wasting their lives doing something, and so they decided to kind of just break away from society and everything that kind of forced this family member or a friend to live their life in such a limited capacity that eventually led to their death. It could be that they were gifted a large amount of wealth. perhaps, and just seeing the difference in how the world works when you go from being in need to being the person with all the power. Maybe that's why they decided to, you know what, I'm done with this. Money changes things so much. Here's all my money. Do whatever they want with it. I'm going to live away from everyone. Yeah, there's so many different reasons why you might your character might become a hermit, and that will really change how it works. No, or how you play it. Now, the feature is called the Discovery, and this is the one I don't like because, as I mentioned, the feature generally is going to be the mechanical aspect to how you affect your game. This is how you're going to be able to use your background as more than just a flavor text. Discovery doesn't really give you that. Effectively, you know something massive. You learn this is something that is changed your life, that no one else knows, that only could have been learned by you living in seclusion. And it mentions it might be information that would be damaging to the people who or the people who or consigned you to exile, which is a poorly written sentence. Your knowledge might be something no one was supposed to know. It might be knowledge that was buried on purpose. It might be knowledge that has been hidden by a ruling class that doesn't want everyone to know it. However, this particular feature effectively makes you the main character of this is a story. You are so special. You know something so dangerous that the world is going to revolve around the information you know. That's kind of the point of this feature. Is you are so special that what you know, it could change the world. And I don't think that's a good idea, because I've run Giga games where I've run one shots where there's been a main Giga character and everyone else just kind of followed. It's not fun to D&D for anyone but the main character. I've had campaigns that have started off as everyone having their own thing and eventually turned into a main character kind of thing where everyone's decisions are all based on this one person. And that can sometimes happen intentionally. That can sometimes happen accidentally, where you just make poor decisions. Or it can just happen naturally based on the decisions of the players rather than you personally, which is one of the situations. I didn't create the main character. The other players just kind of defaulted to, okay, this person will do. And it was mostly because that was the most seasoned player. So that's not fun to D&D. When a campaign becomes about a single character and their companions instead of a party or a group of characters, people don't like that. They feel like they're a side character in someone else's story, and it's not fun. And this particular feature really heavily emphasizes that, because even if the revelation isn't the main point of the campaign and it's like a secondary storyline, it's still a storyline that is entirely about your character. The rest of the characters don't even exist in it, and your character has to be the driving force, because you're the person that knows this is a secret. So I really don't like this feature. I would much rather see for the Hermit, I would much rather see a feature along the lines of, it's just a secret that can benefit people. Not this super crazy, I'm going to change the world. I'm talking about, when I was up in the mountain, I developed this interesting exercise program. Or, I learned acupuncture. Just something that's not world changing, but is something that makes your character unique and gives them situations like, I have this particular knowledge, where I can go up to, you know, this particular person, and when you're negotiating, you're talking to someone else and go, oh, you know, I lived, you know, on my own for 20 years. And I found out that this particular plant can actually be used in this particular way, and that will solve this problem for you, giving you a way to influence people without it or in a way that other people couldn't. Like, this isn't just like a random alchemy or a random survival role. This is, I have very specific knowledge that I learned in my solitude, that allows me to maybe breathe differently, or I learned, you know, I like using acupuncture because it is kind of a mystical form of healing, where I learned that, you know, by doing certain things, I could promote blood flow better, or things like that. You know, I think that would be a much better use of a class feature than discovery, which is they intentionally make this to be world changing. No, make it life changing, not world changing, is my only qualifier. So yeah, I tried to make this one a little bit shorter. I think I succeeded. So hopefully you guys enjoy this. Like I said, I'm going to try and at least record a bunch of these as quickly as I can, so I have more content coming out. But I'm going to try and finish up the backgrounds in the PHP, and then we'll figure out what we're doing next. I have been watching the Tasha leaks. If you're not aware, there's a new D&D book coming out in November called Tasha's Guide to Everything or something. Tasha's something. I'm just calling it Tasha's right now. But it's going to be a massive supplement, to the point where you could effectively call it a fourth core book from what I've been seeing. And when it comes out, I will be doing a lot of D&D deep dives, because it has everything from new classes. There's already been, I think it's either been confirmed or at least heavily hinted that the psionic subclasses we saw before, they are getting officially introduced into there. So they're effectively creating a brand new source of power in psionics. They're going to be, obviously there's going to be new backgrounds, but there's going to be new rules, new systems, new ways that you can choose your racial bonuses and that. Like, it's going to be a really massive thing. So when that comes out, that's what I'm going to be focusing on for a while, because there's a lot to go through from what I've been reading. However, until that point, in the comments below, let me know what other stuff you guys want to see me cover before we get there. Yeah, there's still, I could do more backgrounds to this stuff. There's still a bunch of books that I haven't even touched. I don't think I've touched almost anything in the Dungeon Master's Guide. There's still magic items. Like, there's tons of stuff I could do. Just let me know in the comments below what would be most interesting. Or if you found something unearthed Arcana, or maybe something on the DM's Guild, let me know. Otherwise, as always, if you enjoyed the video, please hit the like button. It really helps me. Subscribe to the channel if you want more stuff like this. Share it with everyone. And again, that's all for me today. I will see you guys next time. All right. Bye-bye.